Make sure. I'm muted. Mine's muted.
Is it okay now? You can hear an echo. Does something have to happen with that one over there? Should I? I'm not sure if they can hear me.
Yeah, we got an echo.
Feedback.
Yep.
That would be my desk on my speakers.
I better not say take a bite of this sandwich.
Like echo is right.
He's like, you probably hear about shit like elementary schools too.
Most flattering is
The other day, somebody that wasn't part of school.
No, she graduated.
Good.
it should be good.
All right, testing.
They've named
Sound.
Oh, okay.
Sounds better.
it's a familiar individual,
Good back there. Sound good? Sound okay?
but it's someone who has experience.
I think we're good. Yep. Alderwood says good.
I'm still hearing something.
It has a variety of other
Is there a little?
issues that they're dealing with in life.
Hello?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There's food.
Check.
No, I'm not here yet.
You say something like,
Does it look good, Will?
you have to say something like,
We were hearing some feedback, but I'm not hearing
I think
it.
we're okay.
I guess we'll see. Okay, I would like to call to order the Thursday, September 21st meeting of the City Council Committee of the Whole, review of the 2024 to 2028 Capital Improvements Program and 2024 capital borrowing. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder DePula.
Here.
Alder Holmquist.
Here.
Alder Moore is excused. Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Rademacher. Here. Alder Bernstein.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Okay, we will start right away with the Senior Center, and that is on page 124 of your budgets. Diane, it's all yours.
Okay. So for 2024, I have two items that I would request for a capital expense. First is replacement of our tables. 6-foot and 8-foot tables. We flip our rooms daily, and sometimes these tables are used outdoors. They were last purchased in 2015, and they are definitely showing signs of wear. We order Mighty Light tables, which is important because staff and we move these tables all the time, so we want to make sure that they're lightweight and easily movable. So that's a $5,000 request. Looking at attached is the updated quote from them for this year, and it's definitely going to be within that 5,000 rate, even if there's some shipping increases, anything like that. The other item, our rank 2 item, is a new reception desk. This is with anticipation that we will actually get that stairwell in the community center redone. That was originally put in the capital for this year, but that project didn't get completed. If it does get completed next year, basically our current reception desk is designed to kind of block out the noise of the participation in our activity room. Our reception desk sits in our activity room. With the anticipated redoing of the stairwell, we'll be able to move reception to the base of that stairwell, and we would want a reception desk that's much more open. So it would be a low scale, low profile. They're not hiding behind an upper section. When we spoke with the architects, we asked if we could somehow fashion our current desk and change the return and still use it, and he said it just isn't going to work that way. So we're looking at $3,000 to purchase a new reception desk, and this is only if that stairwell gets redone. We don't need it if we can't get that stairwell done next year.
And we're really hoping that we find someone to bid on that stairwell.
We are too, yes.
So the stairwell is in the budget. We did went out for bids last year. It was well over. We budgeted for. I don't know if you guys are aware, the city is working with Maywood Schools to maybe be a spot to do the rec department. So we right now we have like $300,000 in the budget for the community center remodels. I don't know, depending on what happens with Maywood Schools, if we need all that amount. But it's just kind of continuation that rebidding that thing out. Maybe it's just the stairwell and what Diane was talking about, because that's, I think, something we have to take a hard look at once we know what's going on in schools. So it is in the budget.
Did you borrow that money, correct?
We borrowed, well, we used 100,000 of it already, for the fire department bathroom, so that's part of it.
And part of it is going to actually work on that extra restroom. We have one restroom in the community center that hasn't been redone since the building probably was built. And that's going to happen first week in October. So that's part of that
And that's
same.
down in your area.
Yeah, yep.
That was a separate budget line item. We just bid it together last year,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Diane?
Well, I just want to understand a little bit more about the timing with the Maywood School.
Sure.
What is it? Does it look like a very unlikely that we will be able to get that space?
Yeah, I don't know how much they want to talk about it, but I know that the two lawyers are going back and forth and working on an agreement.
Okay.
I think it's probably likely, and it's probably going to start July 1st if we do get it. So I would say more than likely, yes, we'll have it.
Okay. And once we get it, that remainder of the 300,000 might be targeted for there?
No, it would still be, we might, pending, I think that's, Jake's plan and Missy's plan was to bring it during the budget hearings and the contract at the same time, so it's coming within a month or so. And so I think the plan is, if that gets approved, we'll take a hard look at it. We want to spend it for everything we have planned in the community center. And if we'll know by the time we borrow, if we can borrow this much money at that time.
Okay.
So basically adjusting what we're borrowing.
So once we do have a deal, we'll take another look at the budget and see how we can...
Just for that item, yeah,
Yeah,
for the
okay.
community center remodel project.
Okay.
And see what needs to be done or what doesn't need to be done. So I think we'll have a very good idea by the time we borrow in March. We usually borrow in March or early April.
Okay.
So
And I do think that the majority of the emphasis of that project was that stairwell in the senior center. So I don't think it will be
yeah,
a
the only thing
lot.
is, the other side was staff areas. for
Yeah,
Jake's
there's
area.
office,
But I don't think
Okay.
they'll-
which is, yeah.
and that's
Okay.
something- So basically, yeah, we'll get Maywood and we'll take a hard look at it. But for now, by the time we borrow, we'll know if we're borrowing the full amount. Or
Okay.
Well, and I thought you just said we did borrow the money.
Well, we have to borrow extra money because we use 100-some thousand
Oh, okay,
for
okay.
the fire
Saying-
department.
Yeah, Rick, this was actually a project that was in this year's budget, but we went out for bid and didn't get
It was well over.
adequate, bid, so.
Yeah, I remember we took some money somewhere to do the bathrooms. I wasn't quite clear where
Yeah,
it was coming from, but yeah,
Took
okay.
over 1,000 over.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, well, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Next up is the IT budget, and this is Rick's.
Hey, Will Nimmo,
Will?
could you bring me a napkin? I'm sorry to be a pain in the rear. I'm sorry. I could go get it myself. I just, if I were at the end, I would, but I'm kind of like the middle seat of the theater here. Sorry. Thank you.
And Mark, would you mind asking them to go into that room where they're supposed to be and
Where is IT in the budget here?
Page 27.
27.
all right. Oh, good.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I can see that Jared is on the line, so if you have any specific technology-related questions that I can't answer, he's here to jump in on that. Okay, our total budget this year for IT, just under $70,000. No big IT projects slated for this year, with the exception of continuing the library camera replacement project. We replaced half of the cameras here at the library this year, and budgeting for the remaining half in 2024 at $25,000. General use, sort of a general amount of computer replacements that we usually do, right around 20 desktops and laptops for staff. Exciting for you all this year, we have replacements of your laptops in the budget. So nothing very major there. No big server expenses this year, with the exception we just have to replace some hard drives in one of our servers for about $5,000. We do need a piece of Fortinet equipment for our cybersecurity, and then a contingency for our cameras. We are up to 88 cameras right now in the city. So that is becoming quickly becoming a really big part of our IT budget.
Just want to mention something that we took out. So there's these new licenses, operating licenses we were going to look at. It was over 100,000, and we took it out. So basically, they were 5-year licenses, but they're really operating licenses, so we had to take them out. But for 5 years, 25,000 that could be going to the operating budget. So there was a change. So that's going to be a big issue when we get into the operating. So we'll let you know that we really debated that one. The auditors already would remove it anyway. So it's not.
Yeah, I did write in my project summary, but basically we continue to see a reduction in our IT capital expenses, but that's not because we have less of a need for technology. It's just because all of that technology is moving toward license-based subscription fees, which we can't borrow for. Those are considered operating expenses, and we have to include those in our operating budget. So
Yeah.
we try and be creative when we can, but we can only do so much in terms of categorizing those as non-operating.
Yeah, how old are the laptops we each have?
They were purchased in 2017. So they're going on 7 years old.
We had to replace the hard drive on
Yeah,
mine this
Mary's,
year.
we've had to replace the hard drive on. And, do all of them need to be replaced right now? Probably not.
Right.
And you can make that decision on whether you choose to keep them for another year. The thing about laptops is that they're always very redeployable.
Okay.
We can use laptops a lot, just among the staff and Parks and Recreation staff that are out and about or whatever, taking laptops with them. So
That's actually that's a good point. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Rick?
It's not in terms of the budget, but is there a central location where everything is backed up? Do we have?
yes, we have actually backup servers here at the library. So we have
Okay.
our main servers in City Hall and backup servers here at the library.
And it's backed up every day or every?
Yeah, could you discuss that, Jaron? How often is our information backed up?
Yes, actually everything is backed up every night. And then what I'm actually proposing for in the operating budget, I'm proposing that's where the hard drives come into play in the capital budget, is changing the backups slightly to back up to that system, and then also that would, in the operating, we would be purchasing a cloud backup. So we would encrypt everything locally, and then those encrypted backups would serve as a cloud backup, just in case.
No, that's good. 2 backups. Great. Thank you.
And we did have an instance this year where we needed.
The one other thing I wanted to say
Okay.
in regards to the board laptops is with them approaching 7 years old, we're also starting to look at what is the longevity of those batteries that are in those for you guys. That's going to be the first thing to fail besides the drives. So that's the other thing to look at in regards to the board laptop replacements.
Okay. And Jerry, could you tell us your last name? I don't believe we've met. What do you do?
My last name is Abegalin.
Say again?
A Begelin, Jaron a Begelin.
And your job title?
I am your on-site IT staff manager.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
We contract with a company to do our IT, and he's one of their employees.
Got it.
We switch over to Wednesday and some other days, so come in for the meetings.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I'm assuming it for the council laptops, 1,200 apiece. These are not very powerful laptops. They certainly don't have to be. I mean, we're just basically connecting in many times to the internet and,
Okay, great. And I think not everyone uses them the same way. I think for
Right.
some people, they use them a lot. Other people,
yeah.
kind of like a folder. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
And Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon.
Next up is community media. Will?
Big old bunch of food for perfect first time.
We'll give you time to chew.
No time to floss.
And this will be on page 138.
Okay, thank you. So there's only 2 items here for community media. One being the streaming infrastructure and the other being a production computer that will be located at the high school. I'll start with the streaming infrastructure for $7,250. And that cost is actually being the cost of the whole infrastructure because of our relationship with the school district and our partnership. They are going to fund half of the infrastructure and we're going to fund the other half. So really it's a $14,500 purchase that they will be purchasing half. What this is essentially replacing the base unit that communicates with all of our units throughout the city and the school district. So we have one here, we have a unit here, we have a unit up at the district office, and then we have one at the high school to utilize for the sporting events and activities. And that all needs to go to a hub that then needs to send out to YouTube so that we can stream. And that hub is no longer made, nor is it serviced, nor are there any parts for it. So it's about almost 8 years old, well, closer to 7, I guess. But now it's just antiquated, and we need to update it because we've already dealt with one part failure that we're kind of working around. But since there is no remedy, since they don't make the equipment anymore, there's really it's time to upgrade it anyway. So I am looking. Because we do have some time, I am looking at other alternatives just to see if there's other alternatives that are less expensive. However, we do have somewhat of a robust system that needs to work when it needs to work. So I'm being a little picky on that perspective. And then the other item is just a production computer that is utilized at the high school for video and audio work. And I've said this for many years as we go through them. Working on replacing our PC computers that we built years ago with newer Mac computers that are more stable, that are more industry standard for media production.
Mark, did you have something to?
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody understands. In the past, media used to be funded by franchise fees. Franchise fees have basically topped out at us with the changes with the state. So basically, right now, they don't have enough fund balance. So this is actually now being borrowed for. In the past, it had the franchise fees. But since we don't have enough franchise fees to cover it anymore, it's used for operations. We just use borrowing for it. So just so you're aware of that. It's a change from we had in the past.
And those fees are going to keep dropping every year because fewer people use cable. So, yeah, it's an unfortunate situation.
You used to get 5%. You used to get 5% now it's down. Well, the state is the 1%, but the number doesn't increase, so it's a flat number every year now, so no inflation.
Yeah.
So
Anybody have any questions for Will? Rick?
well, just the state proportion is dropping, or it stays at the 1%?
Stays exactly, it's 24,000.
Oh,
It's
okay.
been like that, 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, but it will drop as the cable subscribers drop.
Right.
It's a percentage of the amount of revenue that the cable company makes in the municipality. So if that revenue drops because of less subscribers, then that 1% that the state aids.
It's not for that one.
No?
That's a fixed number now.
For.
Yeah, it's
okay.
based on a certain year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought
that's
that was
something,
good.
I guess, yeah.
Okay,
That actually works in our favor then.
okay, okay.
I wonder when they're going to realize that.
Well, they will, at some point
I mean,
they
it's
will.
capped, you only get 24,000. So,
Yeah, people cutting the cords.
Yes, I just read that it's now officially less than 50% of people who are on cable.
Wow.
Good.
Brian?
The only question I have is, I know our relationship has been a 50-50 split. Is there a reason that the computer isn't a 50-50?
It isn't necessarily 50-50, is it?
And it's not a 50-50 when it comes to equipment, nor personnel for that matter. We've worked out a program with the school district that they would help fund equipment updates, but due to like the number of in-kind contributions as far as upgrading that studio at the high school, providing internet and electricity, and having their internet, department work on some of our things when they kind of offset with their in-kind contribution. But it's something that we constantly look at, and which is why we went to them and said we feel this is something that should be split half and half.
Okay, thank you.
And they actually, we negotiated a contract agreement with them like 5 years ago or something like that.
Actually, 2016.
2017.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I think it was when I was mayor, so
Yeah, it's been updated.
2017. Anyway, so they're paying a lot more than they used to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Given the amount of time we spend there,
Right.
And even in the last committee meeting, Will, I think at the very end you made a comment like, just as a point of demonstration, just show how healthy our relationship is with the school district. When you brought that request to them, I think you said, was it Dan? You just said absolutely. There was no hesitation whatsoever. It was really very friendly.
yeah, which is wonderful. Any other questions? See anyone there? All right. Well, I guess that's it for you. Ryan is not here, but the chief is, so police is on page 34.
Starting with law enforcement, Mayor?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just start by saying I appreciate the very difficult decisions you're going to have to make during this budget season. Moving forward, I also want to reiterate that these are PD needs that I'm putting forward to you. Our wish list was much bigger than this, as you can probably imagine. And so you'll see a couple of new additions to the 2024 project requests than there were in years past. These were identified needs that we came across this year. So, and you also see some reductions, some things that I may have asked for multiple numbers of equipment, and I've reduced that to try to compensate for some of the new asks. So we'll start with something that you've heard a lot about, the F-150. So that has been a previous request that you have authorized me to order that this year for the 2024 capital budget. That window has not yet opened up from Ford, so as soon as it does, based on your previous blessing, I'm going to hit send on that order request so that we can finally get the truck. And as a reminder, the truck is a utility need for some of the equipment that we have to place, we have to remove from the roadway or pick up bikes, for example, but it's also a accommodations request for staff.
Chief, it's also not much more expensive than the regular cruiser, right? I mean,
Correct.
And it has a lot more utility than the regular cruiser.
Correct.
So-
Some agencies have shifted, and we're not going to do this unless you tell me to. That shifted entirely to the Ford F-150 because of that. Stoughton, for example, is one of those agencies. I know the county just had 2 of them, I think, that they have delivered and are in use. They're practical. I'd like to let Ford catch up to some of the hybrid technology issues that we're experiencing, and then revert back to the hybrids or all electrics, as we've talked about, once that becomes reliable and available.
So are you saying that's like in Stoughton, instead of squad car, they just have all trucks?
They're converting to them.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So they still have, I could think, a mix, but yeah, and there's several agencies in Wisconsin. A couple of reasons. Number one, I think Ford has done a really good job of making pursuit-rated vehicles. Pursuit-rated meaning the stopping power, the turning power, returning capabilities, the concerns about overturning, all that stuff. They've really done a good job engineering that science into this truck to do the job that we need those vehicles to do. But also that they're seeing that they're very dependable, they're very rugged, and they're much more comfortable for both the people we're conveying, prisoners in the back seats, and for the officers. As I explained before when I talked about the F-150s, Ford redesigned. They often do. Most car manufacturers do a redesign every 4 or 5 or so years. Ford redesigned the interceptors, so the Explorers. They call them the police interceptors. Such that the way we put our petitions in our squad, it really doesn't allow the officer to move back as far as they used to, and then they have eliminated the pedal adjustments. So you're a lot more cramped in the front seat. And I feel comfortably, but some of our officers who are 6'5" don't necessarily.
So the vehicle has like an extended cab, like a back seat.
Correct.
Even though it's a truck, it has a back seat, but then the box in the back is shorter than a...
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a 4-door vehicle with the utility at the
There's a lot of flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's all-wheel drive, and the gas mileage actually in the Ford F-150 is the same as the non-hybrid gas mileage in the Explorers have used. So
That's pretty good.
We've really engineered it specifically for police for that reason.
Well, you could drive the municipal dunk tank around with like alders and whatnot in the back of it for fundraising, right?
Whatever this council so authorizes the police department to do, we shall do.
Do you think the strike might complicate things?
Yeah, that's what we're concerned about. It's like, geez, if it's not one thing, it's another. But we support
Right.
as labor, of course. But yes, we're concerned about some of the delays coming out of Detroit, which is where it's the vehicles. So at least, if not the chassis, some of the parts and whatnot are coming out of Detroit. So
Okay.
We're concerned about that. That's probably why it's now mid-September, and I'm not able to order an F-150 for the next year. If you go out and try to buy a Honda Civic, you're able to probably pick one up on the lot today. So we did have a window of opportunity. I will say that Ford reached out to us, the state bid a dealership reached out to us and said, we can get you, excuse me, we can get you 2023s at a $6,500 discounted rate, but that would be delivered this year. So I would need to come back to you all and ask for this money we don't have, and we'd have to do more borrowing, and it just wasn't practical after talking to finance manager.
Okay. But that might be your plan B if this doesn't come through?
We'll have to talk about that. I'll have to come before you and say, and the mayor and the finance director and city admin and say, here's the conundrum. We need to think out of the box yet again if this doesn't come through.
At the end of the day, we're saving $6,500, but it's just not approved in the budget.
Yeah,
and we haven't borrowed the money.
Right.
we don't have that to spend this year.
Is that still an option, do you know?
As of Monday, it was.
It's changing that fast.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So I jumped all over that until I found out it's delivered this year. I said, oh, geez, can you hold it for a couple more months? And no, they couldn't. Of course, the dealership couldn't guarantee me that. And once it's on their lot, the time and money is ticking for them as a dealer.
Right. Right. Wow.
Okay.
To be
Any
continued.
other questions about that one? Okay, continue.
Thank you. The second vehicle is to replace my squad. I have one of the oldest in the fleet. I actually drive the old community relations officers squad because I am out and about and do traffic, as you know. So My squad actually has relatively decent miles on it, just under 50,000 miles, so we're going to keep that in the fleet. We're going to reassign it out to likely the school resource officer and put some badging on the side. But my squad will be dual purpose. It's going to be obviously my vehicle, but we don't have a backup K-9 squad. One of the issues that we ran into when our K-9 officer got into that crash, as you all know about, if you remember the collision. My squad was the backup K-9 squad with a kennel in the back and poor Jocko being bounced around that for about 3 weeks while the squad was being repaired. So we need a good option for a backup K-9 squad, and so that's what this new squad will be. So it'll be a half prisoner cage and a half K-9. So depending on what door you get in on, you might need a dog or you might need a comfortable or less than comfortable seat in the back. But the squad also needs, obviously, dual zone climate control, right? You need to make sure that there's a climate control for the back seat. Currently, right now, our prisoners, our normal squads don't have that. That's an extra cost. I'm going to change that here on out. I want everyone to be comfortable for their short trip to the Dane County Jail if they so happen to be arrested for a charge here. But it is going to be, I think, a $2,000 option that we have to option out. But standard as we get our squads, they don't come with dual climate control, which obviously the K-9, we need that. Got to keep Jocko cool or heated.
It's not at all unusual for us to take some of these older squads and different departments use them, really depending on what kind of shape they're in. And
which is what we're doing for the parks.
right,
Parks and Rec.
right. Any questions? Okay, continue.
We'll move on to some of the, what I call the guts of the vehicle. I think to simplify this, unless told differently for future years, I think I'll try to categorize some of these projects and encapsulate them into one project. So one squad, and here are the items in it, and here are the prices of those items that are going in that one project. Because in essence, I'm asking for the guts that are going to go into the squad anyway, versus breaking it down to multiple projects for you all. So until I'm told differently, that's my plan for next year. But how it is now is the breakdown. So project 3 for us is going to be the tough book and the modems that I need for both of the squads.
And Chief, to be clear, without that equipment, essentially it's not a functioning squad vehicle.
Thank you very much. That's needed for the squad. All of this equipment is needed for the squad to work in patrol.
But what about the espresso machine on page 41?
Somebody must have stuffed that in there. Yeah. So again, and you know what we do is we like Panasonic. They make an excellent product for wear and tear.
They're the only ones that do the hard and tough book, right? That's the only company, I think.
Claim to fame about dropping them from several, stories up. We've not tried that out, but they certainly last. I use a tough book in my squad. That's probably one of the oldest computers in the fleet, and it's working just fine. The reason that mine is working just fine is because it's got fewer fingers that tap on it every day for 24 hours a day. But that's also why you'll see these requests likely every time I ask for a new squad. The officers definitely use those a lot more frequently than I do. And the wear and tear of the keypad, etc., moving the screen up and down. Although it's tough, it's about due come 5 years every time I ask for a squad for patrol.
And I think I have a note from when we talked about this that the cost is actually less than the old computer. Is that right?
Yes.
Of these new ones?
Correct. So we're paying less. Shall we move on? Still parts of the guts. Police radios. So for my squad, I'm using one radio that has sort of dual band VHF as well as the 800 megahertz. However, the patrol squad, they need 2 separate radios because for patrol's capability, especially when we assist the county or we're going to Madison, etc., to have 2 mics, 2 radios is a lot easier for how your officers operate. I have the time and luxury to toggle through, switching bands, making sure I'm on the right frequency. Officers in emergency do not. So that's why there's 2 radios in patrol squads. For most of our administrative squads, we'll just have to do that.
Because some departments communicate differently than others,
Thank
right?
you.
Are we the same as Madison? Is that
Yes, we
the
use
deal?
the 800 megahertz. County and others use the VHF. So we need the capability to communicate with everyone. You think, I've mentioned this before, in a post 9/11 world, we be all on the same page, use the same record management system, but we all have different councils, and we all have different, fiscal capabilities, I'll say, and resources.
And some of them, I think, depending on where they're situated, are too far out for one or the other.
Correct. The VHFs specifically for the county and what they're capable of doing in Cross Plains, for example, and being able to work off repeaters and communicate downtown Madison is different, obviously, situation than what we have. But the good thing about having both is that we can go to 3 different counties and comfortably communicate back here in Manila and back here at our comm center. You can't necessarily say that for a lot of agencies that don't have both. My radio tones out just about Dodge County, north of Dodge County. Tones out means it's out of the operational area.
Okay, I think you can move on.
Okay. We are on a regular replacement cycle for our tasers. Tasers come from the factory with a 5-year warranty as of now. The trend, I think all of you know this, for a lot of manufacturers, in my opinion, to get more money, is switching to sort of a subscription-based program. That is starting to happen with the new tasers. We are still using this Model X2 taser, which is it's gonna come to us new, but that's not their latest and greatest taser that's out there right now. That is subscription-based. So just think in terms of potential impacts to our operating budget, unfortunately. I'm going to have to go to, I think it's a yearly and or monthly subscription to utilize that technology. So you can buy the hardware, but you can't get away with not having the software. Proprietary. So this will equip us with, I wrote down here 3 in the narrative. I think it's closer to 2.5 tasers. We'll see what taser, if they're willing to work a deal with us, or if we can get something that's lightly used, that's also covered under warranty. But your tasers get checked out every day. Officers have to do a mandatory spark check on them every day to make sure they're cycling and functioning properly. So as you can imagine, squeezing the trigger, cycling electricity, the batteries, etc. They last about 5 years. Just as long as that warranty. Funny how that works, right? Just as long as that warranty lasts.
Chief, are you saying that this particular device does not require a subscription, but when it needs to be replaced, by that time, a subscription will be necessary?
So this particular model, this year, Taser has said that we will sell these to you with all the guts in it, with all the software in it as needed. Taser has every right to change that next year.
Sure.
Their latest model, which is not this, requires that.
Sure. So it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next project is our body-worn cameras. I've talked about this a lot, the importance of body-worn cameras. I'm not wearing one today, and I normally do because we don't have enough. We have a new officer who's Chief Cheney, according to the system right now. We're trying to change that, but we need more body cameras. This is something that we will be an ongoing request in capital budget. The manufacturer gives a 3-year warranty on that hardware. You'll likely see me asking for new body-worn cameras every year just to keep up with the replacement cycle. We scatter the replacement cycle, so I'm not coming here asking for 21 body cameras from you. This is very similar to Taser. We're getting word that this is likely going to go to some sort of subscription-based program as well.
It's getting to be a real theme. Yeah.
Yeah. Questions? Okay. Next are our Motorola radios. This is where sort of I reduced my original request in the proposed budget in previous years from 4 to 2. We think we're going to be able to get by. I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to get by. We're just asking for 2 more portable radios. Again, this is your lifeline for your officers. And the reason we go with Motorola, as you can see, they're quite costly. They are extremely dependable. And they're sort of, think about the tough bucks, same concept. when officers are exposed to weather, falling, etc. Excuse me, they're extremely rugged. And the antenna and reach capabilities and what Motorola is able to do in terms of penetration through walls and structures is top-notch. And so we're asking for 2 replacement Motorola radios. This also comes up as a normal course of action for replacement schedule.
Chief, what is, so the particular budget request, I see a photograph of a radio from a kid, you know, I think, oh, it's a walkie-talkie,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But what do you call the radio that you're wearing on your body, on your shoulder? That's
Yeah.
also a radio.
It is. So this
Same
is
thing.
it's the same device.
It's all, oh,
So
I
this
didn't
is-
see the, okay.
Yep. So this is just the
Got it.
microphone
Okay.
for the same radio
Got it,
that you
okay.
hear.
Got it.
Yeah. This one looks no, it's the same thing.
Yeah, okay, perfect, thanks.
Yep. Moving on. Okay. Back to some of the guts of your the patrol cars and the vehicle that I will operate, hopefully, is the arbitrator system. So this includes a forward-facing and interfacing camera and system for your squads. It's also Panasonic. Panasonic, the same brand as your body-worn camera, same server that we will be using. It's all compatible software and technology. So this is asking for 2 for the 2 cars. I'm asking you all. Questions?
It says it's for 1, but this is covering 2.
Yes. Sorry, that was. It says in the description 1. That was my error. It should say 2.
Okay.
2 for the same price, 14,000?
2 for $14,300.
Okay.
We'd be in a world of hurt if they start charging.
Yes.
Doubling up,
Yeah. So sorry. Thank you for pointing out that. Moving on. Yes. Okay. Ballistic shields. Alder Bernstein, for you, I think the rest have heard me. I actually brought a shield for show and tell. I apologize if you'd like to see one. We had very old and outdated shields. In fact, we're still using them. This council approved the authorization as part of the capital budget for me to purchase 2 new lightweight shields this year. We were on the range last year. We're part of a training consortium with other local agencies. It was tough for us, somewhat embarrassing for us that we couldn't keep up because our shields were so heavy. And other officers were able to, walk through this course of fire while holding a shield. Here we are struggling with our very heavy shields. So that was brought as a need to me by our staff that says, Chief, our shields are outdated. Can you look into getting some of them for us? We've received them. Officers love them. They fit well in the back of our squad cars, and they actually have a very, very bright LED light that's affixed to them. So when we're doing nighttime tactical operations, etc., the shield is a protection from not only us if we're in a high-risk situation, but also we're trained to protect residents or persons in which we're doing rescue operation or if we're encountering a suspect and we have a civilian next to us. So it's something that I think is very important, and that's why I put it in here as a need. This is a replacement cycle as well, and so I'm asking to get every squad car and patrol equipped with a new ballistic shield until we're fully equipped. So I'd imagine that this will come up for the next 3 or 4 years until every squad is equipped. Questions? Okay. Here's something that's new, something that was identified by my staff, and I'm glad they pointed this out because I had no clue that our department-owned rifles were this old. So we currently have 6 department-owned rifles. Your officers are required to purchase or bring with them when they're hired their own handgun. Well, I shouldn't say they're required. We offer them that opportunity to purchase a handgun. We do have handguns that we can give officers. We do give officers department-owned handguns. Most choose to buy their own and use that option. We give them with monthly installments to pay the city back for the acquisition of a handgun. We do that for rifles too. I can tell you that not all officers take that. Some people just they don't hunt. They don't want to bring a rifle home. They have no use for the rifle outside of this job. So there are some officers who choose not to purchase their own rifle, therefore they use a department rifle. The challenge with that, I don't want to use the word problem, I think next year, if not approved, and this is entirely your discretion, of course, I will use the word problem if we continue to use very outdated rifles to the point where they stop making parts, basic parts. A 2007 rifle that we have will not sell for much in exchange when we go to the licensed dealer, which we purchase rifles from, because of that simple fact that it is completely, I know 2007 doesn't sound that old, it's antiquated. The newer rifles are designed differently, they're more lightweight, use more lightweight materials. The attachments for the new rifles, such as your light or your scope, are designed for newer rifles, not 2007 rifles. And so here I am asking for replacements for some of our old rifles. Asking for 2 at a time. I'll take whatever you give me, but I know that sometimes it's challenging to talk spending money for things like weaponry. You have a police department that uses weaponry. We own weaponry. We own bullets. So this is me as your chief identifying a need.
How many of these 2007 or older models are there to be replaced?
6. All
6. Okay.
Yeah. So my plan is to come to you every 2 years, or every year with 2.
Yeah.
For 2.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is new, the next project, 11. So we currently have 8 less lethal beanbag Remington shotguns. They work. However, we're talking about, again, sort of antiquated technology. Madison, Oregon, I can name a few others, are using 40 millimeter less lethal projectile launchers. You certainly cannot mistake, I pictured it here, this launcher with a shotgun. The shotgun we painted orange to make sure it's clearly identifiable, but with the right change and the right ammunition put in that shotgun, it can still fire a lethal projectile, right? So then there's that component. This 40 millimeter shoots a hardened foam projectile. It is far more accurate. Coming from the agency, I was at Madison when we transitioned from the shotgun beanbag projectile to the 40 millimeter. It's a lot easier to handle, it's quicker to deploy, and it's extremely accurate. So we have certain target points for less lethal that we train on for DOJ, Department of Justice standards. The 40 millimeter by far, in my experience and in watching others handle it, is much more accurate. My concern is that if we don't transition to this, and everyone else around us does, to include our consortium training team, is that we'll be the only ones out there with these antiquated shotgun beanbag projectiles. Another concern I have is that I've seen research to prove that yes, the beanbag projectiles still work. They're still going to do its job. However, you now have more accurate technology available to you at a comparable price in which police departments are transitioning to. I haven't checked with the county to see if they are, but certainly Madison, certainly Oregon, and a couple others who's have escaped me, are transitioning to 40 millimeters. So my ask is for this project, which will cover 2 40 millimeter launchers. The less lethal projectors are in every squad car, so it's available as needed for your patrol officers. This will also cover the necessary training rounds so that officers can qualify regularly with this launcher.
Any questions? Go
Okay.
on.
I put these in weird order, so I apologize. We're back to the guts. So radar units, there's new technology out there that's great. So our latest squad is equipped with a new radar unit, which I think is very fancy. It's wireless. So it saves on labor time, which builds into some of these costs with our General Communications, who provides services and builds for our squads. And I think you want your officers to continue to do traffic, so including your chief. So I'm asking for 2 radar units for our 2 new squads. And these also, with pushing buttons, and I don't have any buttons on my remote, they're kind of worn off. So these also, with use and wear and tear, need to be replaced.
And we definitely want you doing traffic.
Okay, well, I thought that was the case. Any questions on law enforcement?
Okay, moving on to dispatch, page 56.
This will be short and sweet, unless there are questions, which I encourage. So there was a change this year from prior years. I pushed down the large shredder project request that is leaking oil when it wants to, our shredder in our police department. We think we patched it up to hold another year, and because of the circumstances fiscally we're facing, I think we might be able to push it up to 2 years, but I've asked for that to move to 2025. You'll see dispatch large shredder in 2025. This year, I need chairs for my dispatchers, 2 chairs. These chairs are wonderful chairs. They cost a lot of money, as you can see, for 2 chairs, $3,200, $3,250, but they last a long time. Our current chairs have never been in description. When did we get them? And I was shocked. 15 years ago. So 2008, and that's what they're still sitting on to this day. We're done tightening bolts and replacing bolts. And your dispatchers, obviously, 5 of them, 24 hours a day, spend a lot of time with these chairs. Although they're standing a lot more too. And
I was just going to ask, do you have stand-up
they're
desks?
standing a lot too.
Yeah.
But we're working on sort of the treadmill stations.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
something that I think we'll ask for community donations for to help our dispatchers out there too. So chairs, please, for our dispatchers. And if you say no, I will have them come to the next meeting.
So what's I just got to know, that's a fancy chair.
Yes.
$1,500 for, what's so special about it? Is lumbar, neck, it's just almost.
Yes, yes, and yes. So we did a lot of research. This is actually the same chair that they currently use now. They love them.
Oh, okay.
And so we know about the dependability, we know the wear and tear, but also it's not fabric.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, human beings and how we shed so much. So it just holds up really well. And plus these things come with a very long warranty. So we're hoping that we can get another 15 years out of them in our new building.
I missed the part that you just said. It's the exact same thing that they have now. And okay.
Same company, same warranty, exact same chair. The dispatchers love them. I put this to them. I said, tell me what you need, what you want, do some research. So. Okay. And then, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Lastly is a training laptop. We are asking for a Panasonic laptop, probably going to be a Toughbook. The reason we can't use, say, city halls or the libraries is because we have software that we put specifically on these laptops and our computers that DOJ or licensing agreements require us to do background checks to anybody who touches that laptop. So it's got to be ours. It's got to be in the PDs. And currently, when we send our dispatchers off to training, they're either using mine, which I'd rather not, or we're sort of scraping by. Another component, too, is that this allows us, because it'll be a Toughbook, allows us the opportunity, say, if Jaron has to work on a laptop in one of our squads, we can swap that out. We can have the same software on that, you can swap it out, and we don't have to put a squad out of service, which right now we do anytime that we have that come up.
So they're currently using your laptop.
Yeah, we have I don't know what year it is, but the screen's about this big.
Yeah.
It's about this thick of a keyboard, and it's not a Toughbook.
Yeah.
So we have something that's barely running on a Windows 98 currently.
Windows NT.
Anyone else? Any other questions for the chief? I think that's it.
Okay, thank
you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
You're next, Ryan. Page 120.
Come on down. Praise the Lord.
All right. Email myself here so I can properly see everyone. Hello, everyone. So 2 projects for the library for the capital budget. One is children room remodel. We've seen quite the uptick in room usage over the past year. For the library itself, I'm looking at between 2,000 and 2,500 more people visiting compared to last year. We expect it to continue to go up, granted probably not at that same rate because that's a post-COVID boom.
Can you say that again? How many more people are visiting?
Approximately 2,000 to 2,500 more a month.
Per month?
Uh-huh.
Compared to when?
Last year.
Last year. Wow. And what are the ages of the visitors?
0 to 100.
So it's not just that you have more kids, because I know like on McKenna Road, there's so many kids right now.
We're seeing our children's room is extremely busy.
Bloating.
Our story times and children's programs, the numbers are very high. I just can't say for certain that out of that, say, 2,000 people more,
Right.
1,100 are kids.
Right.
I can't give you that data.
And Ryan, is that counting everybody who enters the building or just people who enter the library space?
Everyone that comes into the building, I count that given that the building itself I see as a service to the public. So the meeting spaces down here, even if it's a study table in the center or usage of this room, I count. So that does include city meetings that are held here, court that is held here. Anyway, it also includes staff. There's nothing in the system that can identify people and not count staff.
Right, I'm just curious if it was just the library or if it was down here.
It's both entrances, so both this is what I consider the main entrance from the parking lot and the Schluter Road entrance, those combined.
Okay.
And there's just like an automatic counter on the door or something like that?
No, it used to be, which unfortunately proved to be providing inconsistent data.
Right.
Put it that way. Actually in 2020, I got funding and it's counters that are mounted up above, kind of looking down diagonally, and has the technology to kind of put each person that comes in as like an amorphous blob for privacy purposes. But when a group of people comes, it can then count the group of people. Prior, the technology was just a laser beam that once it breaks, it would count, and it was broken.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So with the children remodel part of this project, one is update of the furniture that families sit on. Another is like a play loft. You had an example in the packet. We're seeing that families want more of a play type atmosphere. Frankly, Penny kind of led the charge on that when they opened up their new building. Their children's room is almost like an indoor playground. They have a special floor that's like a hard rubber. They have a lot of modular blocks that kids can build and climb. And they modeled it specifically for that type of activity. We don't have the space for that, so we're trying to make do, but this kind of activity children would very much appreciate, as well as the adults that watch them. And then outward-facing shelving for some of our picture books that are going more into what we call neighborhoods. That's taking out picture books from our main picture book collection and putting it by subject. So, for example, superheroes, dinosaurs, construction vehicles, that kind of thing. And then have the outward-facing where you can see the cover. So as you're browsing, you can just look at the cover because what we were told since we were children, that nobody can judge a book by its cover, is a lie. People want to see the cover. I will just say professionally, it makes me a little jittery because it will make it less perfectly organized. However, this is what the public wants. Talking with Verona Public Library, who has 80% of their picture book collection outward facing, and their circulation is by far higher than any library in this area. Yeah. So we feel that this is kind of the trend, and this would be a good start for our collection to see how that affects circulation of our picture books.
It's kind of like when you go to a buffet and you can see all the food, you tend to take more.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So So how does increase in circulation? So when people are going to see more books, they're going to check out more books, how does that affect your bottom line?
Well, I mean, one is just, it is a main service that we provide to the public. Two, depending on who checks it out, it affects our county funding.
Right.
And so our county funding has been going down.
Right.
Our circulation has been going down at the same trajectory as the surrounding libraries. It's a nationwide thing.
Yeah, it's not just you, right?
Right, but regardless, we're all trying to do what we can to stop the bleed and get the circulation back up. So, you know, the children's collection is a high percentage of our main circulation. You know, when a child goes in and they're like, I want this book, I want this book, I want this book, they help us, which we very much appreciate. So if this can help boost that circulation, that's helpful, so then we can focus on other collections to see how we can increase the circulation there. And with that increase, the goal is that will help increase our county funding that would come.
So county funding is based on?
County funding is based on a formula that's 3 parts. One is the square footage of the building, and frankly, that's just not going to change.
Sure.
2, it's checkouts and uses of physical materials by people that have Monona as their home library. But the big one is circulation to patrons who their municipality does not have a library. So our closest example is Cottage Grove. So someone that's from Cottage Grove coming here, checking it out, that total number of CERC, that helps us get funding then because Cottage Grove residents pay a specific tax that would contribute towards that.
For a little while longer.
Probably a lot longer from what I'm
10
hearing.
years
For a lot
at
while
least,
longer, okay.
unless
I don't know
something
how-
changes.
There's
And
no-
that's
Yeah,
just
this is
one
a
example.
project.
There are like many towns kind of tucked away
Yeah.
that affects neighboring
Okay.
counties.
But like if someone came from McFarland and checked out, that wouldn't make any difference?
It would not affect that, not specifically. We all look to increase our circulation with the understanding that will, just by the group, some of those will be from those areas that will help that county funding.
Okay. So they aren't part of the formula at all? The people from libraries other than Monona, from cities other than Monona who have their own library? That's not part of this 3
Patrons that have Monona as their home library.
Right, but like McFarland,
Has their own.
Someone
they
from
come here
McFarland
and
can
borrow-
choose for Monona to be their home library.
okay, but if they just come with a McFarland card and borrow from here?
Yeah, I don't believe that affects
doesn't
the formula.
affect the formula, okay.
So therefore,
It has to be people from places that don't have.
right.
Correct, or
Their own
they
library.
choose us as their
Correct,
home library.
yeah.
And some, I mean, that does happen.
Yeah.
If a library, say, has a digital service that's only available to their home libraries, they will change their home
Yeah.
library to that library so they have access to
Yeah.
it. Or, I mean, that's one version. The other is, say, you work in a municipality that's different from where you live, but you basically frequent your time there, you're going to make that your home library because
Right.
that's where all your holds are going to be sent. So after work, you go pick up your holds, take it home.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Brian?
For the children's room remodel, what is it specifically that is being requested to be purchased?
So like couch chairs, so as like furniture that's being sat on, the loft, and then the shelving units.
So similar to what the fire chief just said, I need 2 exact chairs. These chairs, like how many couches?
We have 2 couches and we have 3 chairs, I believe, that would be replaced.
And so I'm
One
wondering-
play loft, and the shelving units, I want to say they're 8 outward-facing shelving units. Our challenge is, this is based on quotes that we received with the library furniture, especially the shelves. The quotes keep going up. So it is possible that I plan to get 8. This funding will be approved. I'll be able to purchase 7, and we'll just have to figure that out.
Okay. And is it possible that we'd be able to have a breakdown of, for the 50,000, this is what we're hoping to get?
You would like it itemized?
I mean,
No, that makes sense.
at least in a bulk sense,
Oh.
of like 8 shelving units.
Yeah.
Each
Yeah.
cost X amount of dollars.
Yeah, I can
We
have that.
an
I can
idea.
have that prior to the next meeting.
That might help us out. Thank
Yeah,
you.
just so like, you know, X number of shelving units at Y cost.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like how Diane did it, like a 6-foot table costs this much, an 8-foot table costs that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that might help.
All right.
Perfect, thank you. Yep. Anything else with this project? The second project is replacing library furniture in the main level, which is primarily those easy chairs around the windows. And Alder Holmquist, I can do the exact same with this one with the number of chairs. Just received actually a brand new quote from the SCLS consultant. And so actually we're looking at replacing 18 chairs for the upstairs. And this is just, the wear and tear of some of these chairs is, I'm frankly a little embarrassed sometimes. It does look pretty bad, where I don't think, frankly, people would want to sit in them. There are some that are not as bad, but they are heavily used. That is by far our most used section of the library outside of the children's room, is that seating around our large windows.
Yeah. Beautiful place. And I can attest to the fact that they're really expensive, because I was involved in picking out the original ones, and I couldn't believe how much. We were down at Merchandise Mart, running around sitting in chairs at various places, and I couldn't believe how much they cost then. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Any questions with that?
I guess just this, to say the library serves over 100,000 people annually, is it just more accurate to say there's 100,000 visitors? I mean, the same person could visit 25, 30 times, right? It's not unique people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure what place would provide that level of information.
Correct.
But yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I really like these little statistics. I think they could be good stuff for city communications. Yeah.
But the same person could come in and sit in a chair 50 different times. So you
Oh, I know. I'm not saying, I'm not bringing this up to say that the wear and tear is not as much as you present it to be. I'm just saying that if we think about how many people are coming into the library, that's all. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Rick?
Ryan, I thought maybe Brad was here earlier and talked about the roof project, but maybe from your perspective, you might want to talk about the roof and how it's affecting things in the library.
The roof replacement?
Well, the project that's coming up and how the leaking.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, our roof is, as far as I'm aware and been informed by the professionals, is at its end of life.
Yeah.
We have had several leaks in the building. Thankfully, city staff have been great at helping out with that, calling contractors to come and plug them when needed. The worst happened, frankly, actually in 2020, weirdly enough, when we were open for a week during the pandemic, and we had like a mini waterfall the night that we opened up, which was kind of fun. And that was plugged. But yeah, I mean, our roof leaks consistently sounds, I think, worse than is accurate, but there's been several leakages.
Has it been endangering the books?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all pure luck that we have. Like the incident I referenced missed the express bookshelves, which are normally brand new items, by less than a foot. And so had it just been that way, it's all luck. So we've been fortunate that the leaks that we have had, I think only one time is hitting items on the shelves. But it could be very well, we could have been had the worst luck in the world. And I mean, it's not far-fetched to say it's thousands of dollars in materials that would be ruined. Once the books get wet, there's not much you can do.
There's no insurance for that? There is?
No.
And there was a leak in your office?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. But, that's...
You're willing to brush that off?
It makes things interesting.
Okay.
I know in previous years, a lot of it had been in that center area where the old section connected to the new, hadn't it been?
That, and then also the skylight, there has been historically some leaking there.
So they're pretty much all in the same.
I mean, it's the main area that has it, but also, I mean, surprisingly, the children's area, which is the original roof, there hasn't been as much, but there has been some where Vine's roots have kind of gone through, and so the water flows through there. That might mean my office is in that original section. I think that's what happened. We haven't had any in the new vestibule, which is good. Surprisingly, not much in the quiet reading room section. It is predominantly the main area, some in the teen section.
And is it I guess what I'm trying to get at, is it pretty much the same spots most of the time? Or do you have just popping up all over the place?
All over, because even though it is pretty challenging when there is a leak, someone goes up top and tries to remove the gravel from the rubber membrane to see if they can visually find where it is. But as I've been told, it's hard because you may find it up there and you patch it, but it could be somewhere else that you can't see. So that's why it'll happen, it'll be patched, but then it'll happen somewhere else because it's really difficult to find where the actual leaks are.
I was just curious if you're always dealing with the same, always have to have buckets in the same areas, or?
No, it's an adventure. It's all over the place.
Which would be easier if it were in the same place,
Any other questions with that project? Lastly, just as an FYI, I included information here about 2 potential projects that would be used with donation dollars. So it's not capital fund dollars, but these are more or less capital projects that I will be funding kind of based on current need, though I need to talk to some groups to determine what project they would like to fund. One is just a computer desk. The computer desk we have for our computer lab is, 10, 12 years, and it's kind of like modified. It's not the best piece of furniture. And then a tool library, which we had planned to do a couple years ago with 2 partners, and unfortunately that fell through. But in that process, it garnered a lot of excitement and interest with the community, and so we would like to try to start that up using donation dollars and provide tools for the community to check out for people that move in or others that just don't frankly have it, or they lose it, or it breaks, or that kind of thing.
How many libraries offer that service?
A tool library?
Yeah.
In Dane County or in SCLS or in the state?
However, your research, what are your thoughts? Is it like 10% of the libraries that you?
Less than that.
Less than that, yeah.
It's a newer collection.
Yeah.
Libraries right now are really focusing on what we call non-traditional collections, just because we've been doing, books, movies, music for decades, and people are finding out, well, you could do other things. Oregon had a giant collection of cake pans that they were circulating out to folks. I've always wondered about the cleaning of that, but regardless, they had cake pans. Tool libraries is one. We started a board game collection, which others have done.
Sure.
We have the kits for families suffering from dementia that helps connect with the senses, stimulate memories.
Do we still have a toy collection? I think years ago we did. I
No.
always wondered about how we
Yeah,
got
we
back
currently don't have a
into-
toy collection. But yeah, so this is just, that is to say not many libraries have it, but I would say that is, okay, frankly, probably because of 2 reasons just off the top of my head. One is it's newer.
Sure.
2, there is a liability aspect that
Well,
is
yeah.
slightly challenging. So we wouldn't be checking out chainsaws.
I was just going to say, a power tool has all sorts of liability with
Yeah,
it,
and-
right? And people just don't know how to use it, and they break it, and then you. But
Absolutely.
But I need a pipe wrench that I'm only ever going to use one time to fix this one plumbing issue. Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, absolutely, yeah.
The neighbors don't have it.
And there are others that I would
Yeah.
put on, I tend to have a worst case scenario brain, so I'm still trying to figure it out, and maybe I can consult with Attorney Cole, who I had consulted with when we thought we were going to get this, and right off the bat, he's like, no power tools. I'm like, I agree.
Yeah.
But should we provide a ladder, which I think would actually be extremely helpful, because not a lot of people have ladders, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
But you have the liability issue.
Right.
Another one that came up just talking with the public is extension cords. But then you have the liability of fire hazard. So, we'll figure that out, but at the very least, we can get screwdrivers, pipe wrenches.
Yeah, it feels like it could be a really fun project, like estate sales, like some guy has just an amazing collection of socket wrenches or whatever, I mean, just that, I think there's a lot of interesting possibilities out there,
I would agree. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Ryan.
And so we've got a little break in the, we're ahead of schedule on that.
A little bit. Yeah, would anyone like to take a break and
Sure.
get another sandwich or use the restroom or whatever? Great sandwiches, Patrick. by the way. Do you guys want to pause it in the control room there?
I always get the low chair.
You put your foot here, it's on the chair.
It doesn't work.
see, and I guess start with the books.
Not in there, Brian's
Makes sense,
offending me.
okay.
Yeah, we can start on question, project number 1. So, Winnequa Park, North Pedestrian Path and bike construction evolved in Winnequa Park, especially on the north side. It is hard to access from the south side of the park to the north side, and we would also be looking at having a connector path that goes from Fireman's Park Shelter to Greenway Street, which would help with our safe routes to school and our ADA accessible park plan. This would help programming across the board from young generations to seniors. It would offer community engagement in the park, and then can also offer support to some of our existing programs that are held in the park: softball, baseball, flag football, and soccer. The project would make the park ADA compliant and would also offer a nice connector from Winnequa Road to Nichols and the pool, which is heavily utilized in the summer months specifically, not to mention the skate park and pickleball, which also has their own designated group of heavily dedicated users. So I think all in all, the park project would just add cohesiveness to the park.
And I know the seniors came out in favor of this path.
Correct.
Because it'll be a nice walking path for them and keeping people off the road.
Dan has an active walking group that would love to utilize that path if possible.
Just one thing on this. So this was approved, part of this was approved last year.
Yeah, I remember
There was a
that.
path that was approved. I think once they get into it, they realize if they're going to go all the way to Fireman's, it's a lot cheaper to do it all at once. So that's why it's been delayed. So that's why you see other revenues. That's just carried over money from last year. That wasn't
Where
spent.
do you see other, on the
Um,
cover sheet?
Yep, cover sheet.
If you look at
175.
Oh, that's from
175.
it's basically carried over. It's all,
Engineering.
yeah, so once
Correct.
they dug into it, they figured, why do part of it, do the whole thing at once.
This is something we've been talking about doing for quite a while.
Correct.
Also, Jake told me that this also includes seating for the soccer
Correct.
games. There's some
ADA accessible path bump outs that would allow some bleachers and then some accessibility to those that may be wheelchair bound or other mobile units. So that would increase user ability and spectator viewing.
I have a question.
Rick?
There are these two beautiful cottonwood trees right where the school play yard is, right where it comes
Basketball
off of,
court, yeah.
where it comes off of Greenway. Will the path go right in between them as it is currently, or will it try to avoid them as much as
So
possible?
page 92, if you have it on your packet, does
Yeah.
have a preliminary
Yeah.
photo of it. It would not impact those impeding trees that are already
The
there.
path looks like it follows the exact same path that is already there between those trees, I think.
That would be the plan to not.
I know what you're talking about, Rick. Those
Yeah, I
are
just worry about
gorgeous.
the impact to the root system and the danger it might pose for the life of those trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alder, I do know Jake was very much aware of those and wanted to make sure that I think there's definitely going to be some design consideration to make sure, either with the forester, to make sure that going through there won't cause any undue harm. I think that is definitely on his radar screen. He's mentioned that a couple times. So,
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions about?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So looking at that page, Missy, 92, so the lime green, and then there's like
Mine is in black and white.
Oh, sorry.
So if we,
Okay.
if you say lime green, I'm not exactly sure
There you
which
go.
one you're.
So there's so basically there's a big loop right, around the park.
Correct.
And is this a north-south positioned map?
So north would be your greenway, and then we can say south would be like the
Yeah. So by
Nichols
the
Road.
baseball diamonds, between the baseball diamonds and the elementary school, there's one path. And then over by the shelter over in Fireman's Park is kind of like, in the soccer field, it's kind of the other path.
the Elk connector.
If I'm remembering correctly, last year in the budget, it only talked about replacing the existing path.
Correct.
And this year, we're adding a new path.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we're upgrading existing, repairing it, and then adding a new path.
Widening.
And we're going to save some money because we're doing it all at one time.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So the repairs would be widening to accommodate walking and biking pedestrians that are currently using the path, and then just there's a lot of low dips, swells, uneven surfaces that aren't necessarily ADA compliant or ankle friendly.
I really like the idea of bringing walkers in from like Progressive, over by Progressive and Winnequa, like the north, edge of the top of the map, and just bringing them down. That's nice to give the kids a way to school too.
Surprisingly, it's not a lot of school time walkers that we
really?
see like daytime. It's a lot of lost bike loopers that are looking to kind of bypass that upper part. So they often turn around in there and then have nowhere else to go and turn back and kind of find their way. Morning and afternoon routes are definitely school time age kids. Daytime would be that transient biker pedestrian looking where to go.
Rich?
Yeah, when it comes to stormwater, I wonder if there's opportunities there with some swales to prevent the water and the phosphorus from getting into.
So part of the Schaefer Shelter project, which I believe is number 5 possibly, does also start addressing some of that drainage swell and issues that we're having currently out on the baseball field. It is a low dip area in there, and we do tend to see a lot of localized flooding. So I know between this path project and the Schaefer Shelter, we'd be looking at addressing a couple of those drainage swell issues we're currently having. I don't know if it would address a catch pool basin for anything else, but we can follow up on that. But I know we are looking to address the runoff issues we already are having in that park.
Teresa?
And then Missy, one more question about your black and white map. There's a dotted path. Seems to go around more that natural area where you have the wildflowers there. Is that just like the dots represent a different material that it's made of?
Currently, it's like ag rock that's through there right now. And then once it gets out past the nature area, then it's more like a kind of more of a mowed grass area.
Yeah.
So no concrete area, the permeable material currently.
So where do I see that in the list of costs?
That's already there.
That's already, so it's not included in the price?
That's already currently there.
Okay.
Anything else?
Will we get a look at the final design before it actually goes into effect?
Probably the
Yep, there'd be some community input. We would be looking topographic study here in the fall still with November, December community outreach project input.
Okay.
So we have basis of bones, and then we're looking to really fill in with those fine details
Is there a
then.
schematic we can see now?
Not currently.
There's nothing graphically yet?
Nothing
This will
graphically.
fund the design,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Yeah, okay. I knew you did some work already, I just didn't know what.
Yeah, I don't want to drag this out, I'm sorry, but just, I'm surprised that that you're okay with just cutting that soccer field right in half with a path. Is that not a concern of yours?
No, the way we
Okay.
currently have the field slated and the age groups that we are catering to,
It works. Yeah.
both ways. We're able to fill multi-use soccer field up on that northwest side, and then the south side of the park by the softball fields houses like football and multi-use fields. We
Yeah.
have it like square footage out based off of the needs
Yeah.
that we're currently addressing within the community, with some room to grow, knowing multiple mini fields fit inside a large field. and
Actually, the more I think
be
about it,
creative
it's
with
probably,
space.
the more I think it's probably for the best, actually, just to give people access to that.
You're actually getting rid of that one baseball diamond.
Yep,
too,
so we
that
would
up
be
at the north end.
diamond number 1, which the path is going through, that
Yeah.
would get eliminated currently.
Okay, so you'd have 2 ballparks, 2 diamonds.
2 diamonds.
And then the rest would just be grass for soccer.
Soccer, flag football.
Yeah, whatever, okay.
Yeah.
Alderwood?
Can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Piece across, can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, the lateral piece, the main, or one of the main purposes of that is to give access to the fields along there for all spectators, including, people that might be in a wheelchair kind of deal. So it's both for connectivity across there, but also so it'll actually make the fields more usable.
So a
And
person,
accessible.
yeah, so a person could just be on the path watching
Correct.
the game. Yeah,
There's
that's
going to be
wonderful.
some bump out, view
Yeah.
out areas that allow that, standing or seating room area off
great.
of that.
Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to the truck replacement. I think it's
All right.
this one, right?
Yeah. Now, don't get all technical on me on all the parts of the working truck. But if anybody has seen this blue vehicle drive down the street, or one of your children possibly have driven in it, you would know that the safety of our employees and who we have should be some of our top priorities. And this vehicle is not safe to drive on the streets. We've been having issues with brakes. Aesthetically, it's starting to fall apart. Air conditioning is no longer working. And we would be looking to add this new fleet vehicle into our line and replace our old blue vehicle. I don't think there's very much explanation needed on why fleet vehicles need replacement, wear and tear use, lots of miles, in-town miles, but still lots of miles. Brian?
I know why you had the F-250, because it was a hand-me-down. Do we need an F-250? Because this is trash rounds, pickup, and other, I know, daily activity, but an F-250, is that level of truck needed? And you might not have the answer tonight, and that's fine. Just a question.
I do know with our Zamboni, which is one of our recent purchases, that takes a specific trailer and a specific hookup and is a specific poundage that is utilizing. I know when we currently go to pick it up to transport from one location to another, we are relying on Public Works vehicles that aren't always at the disposal that we have. So I do think that we are utilizing that specific poundage, that vehicle would be rated for towing specifically.
And this is also going to be used for plowing.
Yes.
So a plow will be connected to it as well. I'm not sure what difference that makes.
Plow for like multi-use paths, or plow for?
Plow parking lots, it
Parking
says.
lots.
The last line says,
Yeah,
includes a
parking
snow plow
lots.
for winter use to plow parking lots
So parks is plowing parking lots, not Public Works?
in parks, yeah. Public Works is,
Does library
Plowing the
plow
streets.
library then?
I think that, I think Public Works plows
Public
the
Works
library.
does.
In City Hall?
Public
Council-
Works.
The council does that.
So why is Public
We-
Works not doing?
We
Parks.
Public Works does do community center. They do not do other outlying parking
And the
lots,
paths
so-
you guys do too.
And then all
right?
paths we do.
But the paths, we got the multi-use John Deere for.
Correct.
We don't use the truck for that.
No.
So the parking lots at a couple of the shelters, we're using to plow with this truck, but that could be,
Public
in
Works.
theory,
It's
Right.
also the San Damiano Road through there. You guys plow, don't you? I think,
I would assume so, yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I get where you're going with this, Brian.
In the Huska parking lot and the Fireman's Park parking lot.
you're plowing a Huska?
There just seems to be like a 30,000-foot view on like dividing tasks and.
Well, it depends on how much time each department has in the vehicles. We've got to get all the roads done.
Public Works, I mean, that's always.
That's what it's always been, yeah.
It would be the same concept as mowing, like Public Works only does library
Yeah.
and community center. We take
And
care of all
medians.
parks. Yeah. And me-
Just a
correct.
quick comment on that, Alder, I think then also just in terms of priority, obviously Public Works is dealing with the main facilities.
Yeah.
So even if they were on the list and whenever they were doing park facilities, they would get done, but they would certainly get done at a later
Yeah.
time.
When we're using park property and still allocating recreation programs out there, it's hard to justify that we can't run a park program just because we can't get our parking lots plowed.
And we also
Based off
tell
of the
people if they have a
schedule.
snow emergency that they can park in the parking lots, too. And I think we're also going to be plowing Maywood. I'm not sure if that's going to be,
Correct.
if that agreement goes through, if that's going to be Parks or Public Works. I can't remember.
Parks.
Parks, okay.
Parks.
But I have a question, Mark. When we originally looked at this, the price was $63,000, now it's $50,000. I was looking through my original, kind of comparing it to the book you guys gave me originally when we were first meeting with people, and actually the grand total here says 63,000 on page 104.
Want to look at my spec sheets and see if there's any information?
So I'm not sure if maybe the extra is for the plow or, oh, options.
Okay.
On my original book that I was looking at earlier, it said 63.
The quote sheet says
On the description sheet.
58,484. If that helps make any numbers make more sense.
For the total. Yeah, I don't know where the
Total
other,
truck bill.
I don't know where the 63 came from last time. On the grid here, it
it
says
would be-
50 on the grid.
So the plow and the Tommy gate are the extra 14.
Okay,
So
so that
the
was
add-on is the plow and the lift gate.
So that's, so is it,
So it was 50, 55, and then the 14 is with the 4 keys at 70. The lift gate was at 4,000, and the plow steel is 7,700.
so on page 104, it totals us 63,988,
Yep, 103.
the price summary.
Yep, there we go.
So we need to change that.
To 63.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, any further questions about the truck?
So this current truck, which is the request to replace, it was a hand-me-down from Public Works.
Correct.
How often in Monona do we sort of hand down stuff
Quite
from one,
often.
quite a lot?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not an unusual thing that you would have received a hand-me-down in some ways? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
It may be a reflection of, I can't remember how long ago this happened. Public Works used to take care of a lot of park stuff, and then the decision was made to
Got
have
it.
Parks take over the park stuff, and did they get
This-
some of this equipment when that
This,
happened?
this truck replaced another hand-me-down replacement we had.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we had a small 1,500 back in 2012 to 13.
Yeah.
And this replaced that one.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to number 3.
Number 3, the Toro replacement. This has already been ordered. I don't think that we need to discuss much since I do think that it is already on the way. Is there any questions?
What page is that, Missy?
105.
Thank you.
Total project cost was $125. We're replacing 2 John Deere mowers with new mowers that have options of the snow removal equipment. These are approved back in January, and they're already on for delivery for 2024.
This is one of these deals that if we needed to order early
Yeah.
in order to get on the list to get next year. Kind of like the fire truck.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay, next up.
Schaefer Shelter remodel, number 4. Like the paper says, it's virtually been unchanged since 1988. It's not accessible by any means of ADA. We currently house adult softball programs out of there, our flag football program. It was the home to our summer camp program for the last 2 seasons. It does see a lot of bike and foot ped traffic along the path that we were discussing earlier. The bathrooms are outdated, the sinks inside are outdated. Basically, the bones are functionable. We are able to reconstruct within the confines that are already in the existing footprint, but the inside does need some help, and then the outside area needs a lot of help. Cracking on concrete, unleveled areas on the pavement, the Shelter has seen its fair share of vandalism, so this would include some security cameras as well. We have seen individuals on the roof, so we'd be looking at doing some structurally, changing some paths of destination so people are not getting hurt on the facility. It's all around some updates that need to be utilized to make the facility more desirable.
And if you look on page 109, it has a list of all the ADA deficiencies that they found when they did the study last year, that this would be rectifying. We're trying to chip away at these ADA things. We've got a big list of them.
Yeah.
Trying to do some, we need to show good faith that we're doing some every year, or we could get in trouble with the government.
Yes. This would be one that we would really like to see done. It does house a lot of programs, like we said, and it is very visible. Winnequa School is right across the street. We see people from other communities and towns that are visiting the school. That's one of the first eyesores that they see outside the window. Monona can do better. We can represent better than a 1988 color blue.
When I met with Jake about this, he told me that 75% of the youth sports program is in this area of the park.
Correct.
Wow.
So I'm sure that restroom is used a lot.
A lot.
2 stalls and a lot of kids.
Yeah. Anyone else? Questions?
It says there was some other revenues.
So this, we bring in revenue from adult softball. That's part of our field.
This project
Oh,
was,
yeah.
bid out last year, same situation with the bike path.
Correct.
Or the path. So we didn't spend it all because once we started digging into it, we realized it was more work done than needed, so we didn't spend it, it's just carried over the issue.
Okay.
Part of that money originally went to the study done for the ADA deficiency.
And then this just includes the shelter, it doesn't include the pergola?
It would include some modifications so people aren't climbing on the roof. Currently. That's an issue that we're having with the middle schoolers.
Oh, that's how they get up there, is climbing on the pergola and then...
Yeah, they climb on and they shimmy up the fence and they're on there, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change that structure, might make some modifications so that way people are not doing as high risk.
Yeah, and some
Stargazing.
eye-appealing changes like color, possibly to match whatever we choose on the shelter.
It's probably not just middle schoolers, Missy. Not that I would ever have heard a story about that, but yeah.
Did you hear some other
I've
children doing that?
heard, yeah, so.
Maybe some high schoolers?
Maybe, yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, I think next item I have is tree removal replacement.
Correct. Tree removal, number 5. EBA, I think you're all familiar with other meetings and agenda items. Has hit our city. Basically, each year we take a bunch of trees down. Our goal is to replace those trees, whether through capital funding and or grants if possible, if we qualify for that year. So we are just looking to replace some of the trees that are coming down. You can see that average cost of a tree is about $1,000 a tree. That includes getting the tree, staff costs, mulching, equipment that possibly is needed, time shared from Public Works. A lot of fun things to go into that. So the money is needed to replace about 40 new trees for 2024.
See, there's some maintenance of older trees. Is that common, like these giant oaks?
It depends on which tree it is. If they're looking at trying to test, see what's wrong with the tree. Some trees are able to, what's the word I'm looking for, mend with some treatments, but not all do. So a lot of it does have to come with tree replacement. And the typical cost behind the rehab is usually more expensive than the replacement of a tree.
Yeah.
And it's not always guaranteed to work.
Yeah.
You don't
Not
get
that
a mature
planting trees
oak,
are
though,
always
when you
either,
plant
but
something new.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I appreciate more the initiative that you're putting into trying to save the mature trees, so thank you.
Yeah.
Alderwood? Can't hear you again. Still can't hear you.
I know, that's,
Oh, there you are. You're on.
Gotcha.
I got
There
you.
Okay. I forgot what I was going to say. I just, wanted to make, emphasize that we are going to try some of that new attempts to save some of the older trees, the very mature trees that Jake has identified in a couple of the parks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, great. That's what I was hoping
Yeah,
you'd
I
say.
really like that.
each tree on city property has been tagged and inventoried and located. So we do have a full list of every tree and its type and what is going on. So hopefully in the future we can address some of those issues sooner than later if we do realize, and then we can figure out which ones need to be on the removal and replace plan.
Gotcha.
Anyone else?
So from this 35,000, is this, because I see a number of $1,000 for a tree, but then I see 40 trees.
Mm-hmm.
And
Give
then
or
I
take.
also see removal and I also see maintenance. So where's the mixture?
So it all depends on how many trees we really are putting in based off of that list of numbers. So it will fluctuate based off of how many exact trees we are taking out versus which ones we
So
can.
it's 1-for-1 removal replacement?
Not always. Sometimes, depending on the program, we're able to get more trees at a bulk price, so we're able to put more in based off of what we take out.
And are all the removals ash trees?
I feel like
No.
I don't believe they all are.
There's some maples, I know.
Yeah, we've had some oak wilts, some big maples, some other trees that have come down in the city that just aren't EAB, storm-related as well.
There's definitely some kind of a maple thing going around. And I know in my neighborhood, there are a lot of maples, big maples that were, like silver maples that were planted 60, 65 years ago, and they're rotting in the middle.
That's what happened to my silver maples.
Me
split
too.
right in half
Yep.
in
Yeah.
our
It's-
backyard.
Unfortunately, as with so many other things in Monona, so much stuff happened at the same time, and now it's all going at the same
Just
time.
like Dan does the same thing. They put that dollar amount and they don't go over it. So he might have 40 trees there, but he just works whatever 35,000. So it might be give or take a little bit.
So this isn't targeting specific trees right now. Right now it's looking at a
Broad picture.
bank of money to
Broad
address tree issues for removal and replacement.
Correct,
It's
correct.
unlike which we had for a number of years where there were targeted specific trees that we were having to
Correct, right now.
That's done. This is more just general ongoing now.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think he did say he increased the number a little bit to start, because they want to start doing some of this nutrient management. To
We've
try to
also
save
had
some of them.
We've also had a fairly successful donor tree program the last 2 years that we've been able to recoup some of our funds to put in new trees based off memorial loved ones that have passed. So we have replenished, if you've taken a walk down in Winnequa Park on the south side by the parking lot, you'll see 40 new trees that were planted just last season, all with donor plaques on them. All donor funded.
Along Healy, right?
Actually closer in towards the lagoon.
Okay.
But we did replace all those. Those were replacements for the trees that came down
Cool.
last season and the season before off of Healy.
Okay.
Yeah, the donor trees are closer to the lagoon, right where the new bridge over the lagoon.
It's
I know
what
what
you're
you
calling a microforest, right?
Microforest, correct.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I just, again, back to this, the phrase "new" this year is funding to treat specific trees. Well, I'm glad to see it. I really am. I kind of just assumed that it had been happening
We had
prior.
to take down hundreds of
No, I
trees and
get
could only
that.
budget to do,
Yeah.
you know.
So, the park has in the past, I'm sure, treated trees with like nutrient, management and air spading, as it says. I mean, that is part of the ongoing work that Parks does, right?
And some of the trees, if
Yeah.
they're at that point, correct.
Yeah.
If they're past that, then they just come down. As long as,
Right.
as soon as they become a safety hazard to anybody
Correct.
in the area,
Yeah.
Okay.
then we go down.
And that's kind of what's been happening
It's
Yeah.
been
the
happening
last
very
several years
fast,
with the
too.
Emerald Ash Borer.
Yeah, it's sad.
I can't remember what the number, it was, my number sticking in my mind is over 900 ash trees.
I think I wrote that down.
You know,
for our
it's-
last
a lot.
meeting,
Yeah, and it isn't just parks, it's public works
Yeah.
on right of
Streets,
ways.
right-of-ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brad was saying 438 trees have been removed since 2020, and that was Public Works.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next item, the Parks electric vehicle. This would be a purchase that we are looking to secure some funding, 50% out of the tourism fund. We have become a house for multiple other special events that are coming into the city, whether it be marathons, runs, parades, whatever it may be, that we are starting to see increased use of vehicles or people in the park that would like to utilize our services for some of that trash removal or help, and this electric vehicle would really help. Driving on parks is much easier in the electric vehicle versus utilizing a big F-250 or F-150 that we have for our trash removals. So this would help internal and then also be able to be utilized for our own internal special events as well. We purchased in 2019. It has by far been our department's most favorite and most utilized internal purchase amongst those that aren't on the park side. It was finally a vehicle that we, as the rec side, were able to use and transport all of our snacks and special event equipment, rec program supplies, whatever it may be. So for us, it was a very great purchase and really helped our department out a lot. We'd like to purchase a second one. Total project cost is $30,000. We'd be looking at a request from tourism to cover $20,000.
You know, Mark, something we should look into is some of that money that's coming from the federal government.
The IRA.
The IRA, you can, from what I understand, for a vehicle like this, we could get a 30% direct payment of 30% of the cost. You need to fill out this registration form before you order it, though. You know, like to get it, you get a number from them that you then use to get your reimbursement later. So we definitely need to make sure.
But this one, I think you left under two, is only subject to tourism.
Right.
Correct.
So it's not like, if they turn it down.
And that's what,
So
Yeah.
this would be the State Department of Tourism that you're talking about?
No, our tourism money.
I thought it said GEM grant. Okay.
GEM is the brand of the electric vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, GEM.
Is it very similar to what you already have? I'm envisioning like that little.
There's a picture of it on the next page.
I missed the picture. Yep.
It's a 4-unit. So
Yep.
right now, really, what
Yeah.
would be best if we repurpose for one and then
Yeah, the one you have
utilize
now is
one
like a
with-
bed and an open.
More like a
door
little
back,
truck.
a little
Yeah.
mini truck. Yeah.
which is more
That's
pertinent
useful.
for what we're used for there. But
Yeah.
this would house all of our rec staff that we transport left and right.
And how is that current electrical vehicle? How is that holding up?
We've had no issues with
Yeah.
it since day one. I would say it's definitely been one of our better investments.
Yeah.
In
That's
terms of
amazing.
money to use out of.
Right.
It has had no issues, charges. I mean, the only issue in my mind is that we live in Wisconsin and we're
Right.
only able to use it half the time of the year. But
Right.
it works for the months that we need, and the months that we need it are more heavily seasonal use,
Right.
employees, where we want to provide them with that vehicle or that ability to use something. Nobody wants to haul trash in their own vehicle. Been there, done that.
So for the new vehicle, it is entirely enclosed like a car.
It does have a small back cargo space.
Oh, okay.
Think of like your extended cargo, like your SUVs out there. You got your like
Little-
big, but then you got your normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like a truck. You can haul stuff
We
around
still
with
would
it.
have the ability to haul things.
Okay.
I think if that IRA and the tourism money is available, you might probably
Right.
get two.
And And I just want to,
Don't tempt us.
Yeah, we'd have to look at what our numbers look like.
Well, I heard from Jake, he said he wanted 6 of those.
Oh, of course he does.
Well, I mean, it's
600? Yeah.
No, 6.
600 of them, yep.
Yeah.
No, 6.
and I also appreciate Missy, you and Jake. You know, I see the logo there on the page. I know there's been a lot of side conversations about, you know, we say, you know, we want to be, you know, doing things to conserve energy, but, you know, we kind of dump it on you guys to do it. And so I'm appreciative that you bring it to us and say, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Fund this for me if you want. us
That's
to
how we do it when we say
And
we're
that's
going to do
great.
it.
Yeah, so that's very good.
Why isn't it used in the winter?
Battery operated, does not hold the winter months.
The charge doesn't
charge.
hold.
Cold temperature.
Too cold.
It could be used, but it would have to be recharged more often.
I would not take that on the streets in the ice. I don't, there's
Yeah, that's a
multiple
good
things,
point.
not only the
Oh.
winter months battery, but tires aren't snow rated whatsoever.
Yeah.
It would be very weather dependent.
Yeah.
We probably use it about, 8 months of the year?
Yeah, we usually put it away like beginning of November and then it comes out like March.
I mean, is this the same vehicle that the Department of Transportation for the university uses? Because they use those year-round.
Oh, it is?
No, I'm asking.
I
no.
don't think it is, but
'Cause
we
those
can
are-
check. Yeah. Currently, we have just been using it the non-winter
And maybe
months.
there's not a need.
Yeah, I mean,
the off
that's what
months.
I wonder too, like,
Your bigger
Oh.
needs in the summer, right?
Yeah,
you're hauling
we
ice
would use it
skates.
if
Early
we
fall.
Oh, you would use it if you could.
probably use it in the winter.
Where do you
months,
keep
but
it, in the
yeah.
Public Works garage
Public
in the
Works
winter?
garage. Yeah.
I thought
So-
this goes in the locker room.
For a little bit it has, but
Okay.
winter months it goes into Public Works.
And they have enough room?
They did this past summer or winter. We found it.
It's not very big.
Yeah, small
I mean-
footprint.
Is it possible that there's just, for a little bit more money, you could get something that you could use all year round?
I do not know. I can look.
I mean, I think the mayor points out the Inflation Reduction Act is a huge, you know, benefit here.
Yeah, and I don't know if Jake was aware of that when we were coming up with these, when he put together this
I don't think
proposal
it
either.
was.
I mean, I assume not, since it's not mentioned in the description.
So how does that work? How does it work? Does Missy just bring back a different amendment next time or a different proposal next time?
Well, she can look and see if she could find something.
What would that be, Mark?
Happy and all, yes.
Oh, so one
It'd
of us
probably
would
be,
have to
probably
propose.
Doug or Patrick, but somebody would have to do the
On
research.
Parks.
Do the
Okay.
research first.
Yeah.
And Doug and Patrick being on Parks, I would assume would do it, but you need to find out if it's even feasible first.
Yeah. So a year-round vehicle.
You skipped over the Woodland Park one.
Yeah, we did. We'll go back to that.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say, I think I am missing a page on my sheet.
The
So
Woodland Park Management
Yeah,
Plan.
that makes sense that you would use.
It's on the back side of that one.
Ah, there we go.
Is there
There we go,
anything
number
else
five.
about, anything else about the electric vehicle before we
Nope, I'm good.
move back to the Park Management Plan? Okay.
All right, park management plan. Oh, no, because number 5 to me says tree removal replacement. Which,
We've got page 112, Parks Woodland Park Management Plan.
oh, there, number 6 on the
Yeah.
back side. Yep. Woodland Park management plan. This is basically to replace John Traver, who will be retiring from the management plan of Woodland Park. We were very fortunate for a lot of years to have John on our side, taking
Peggy.
care. And Peggy, cannot forget her. They were actively involved in the park for many years. Unfortunately, some health issues had them step down and remove and retiring from the positions. So we are looking to hire an outside management company that would come in and control burn and manage the property.
Yeah, they have done, I know some people know, I'm not sure if everybody's, just an enormous amount of clearing just themselves over there, 60 years old, taking down these giant trees, and I mean, all donated time. And he's donated a fair amount of money, too.
funds.
And we would really hate to lose all the work that they've put in the last 20 years and let everything just grow back, because the point is, part of it's been to recreate the oak savanna that was there, right?
Which has done a great job. The undergrowth has taken new form on non-invasive species, and now we're looking at having more, nature and native plants in that park, which is fantastic. It gets utilized by not only the children and people at the Nature Center, Tellurian's right there. We have 2 senior complexes right in the same vicinity, and it just poses a great walking path and area for the residents. There's not a lot of large-scale areas to walk in Monona, and I do feel like that if you go to Woodland Park, it does bring you outside the city confines just a little bit, which is nice to do every once in a while. And it has some great, just scenic views in there.
Yeah.
If you haven't been to Woodland Park, you definitely should go.
And we did spend some money a few years ago redoing and expanding the paths there and putting in some signage and that
Also,
kind of
the
thing.
parking lot in the back that
Right.
Peggy and John helped
Paid a
provide
big chunk, they paid for half of that, yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Every time I go there, there's now at least 1 or 2 cars in that parking lot, so it gets utilized.
So this
Rick?
is an ongoing, this is not a one-time,
This
like
would be
25,
ongoing.
26, 27.
Yep, this would be ongoing,
And
year to year.
We don't have a contractor, or how do we get to the 25,000 estimate?
I assume you got a bid. He has a.
Yeah, he
I have a
got
note
quotes.
that Jake said the quote is good.
Yeah, he got
Yeah.
quotes from 2 companies that came in, one more favorable than the other. That we like.
We haven't
So,
selected a contractor, but we know what the bids are like.
correct.
Right. Anybody else? Okay, I think the next thing is park concrete repairs and replacement.
Park concrete repairs, a number of the sidewalks are aging. They're showing some cracks in concrete. They would either need repair or replacement. We've had issues in the past just finding small base contract jobs to come out and replace, here and there pieces. So Public Works already has a full plate and can't do it on a routine basis, so we basically bid out the project as a whole with multiple slabs in different areas. That would get us to a desirable job amount to actually get the work done.
And have you, I'm sorry, I just had something I had to take care of. You might also want to check with Dan, because I know they contract with somebody. Public Works does. Did you say that or not?
We've used
to do
that-
sidewalk repair, and I don't know.
We've used that company this past
Oh,
summer
okay.
to do some repairs on work over by the pool. They do more level,
Okay.
like level disparity where they grind down. So
Okay.
we have used that company in the past.
I didn't know if
but
maybe you
it-
might get a cheaper rate for
Working
larger
with all
quantity.
of that.
I don't know. Anyone? Okay.
Park shelter staining, this is a fairly ongoing project, happens every 3 to 5 years. Just wear and tear, sun, use, weather, facility needs upgrades, which include the staining. Project cost is $12,000. We have used a company in the past that stains most of our shelters and playground properties quite often, so it would be a standard routine job done.
So this is for all the 5 park shelters, or how many are we
No,
trying
it's
to
for
get
the
done?
Dream
This
Park.
would be for Dream Park and Fireman's
Well,
Park.
yeah.
For
Okay.
2.
Yep, for 2.
I would imagine Dream Park's a pretty complicated
goodness.
staining job.
Yeah.
And there's multiple colors of
Yeah.
stain, too. That's not just,
Anyone? Okay, trash cans and bike racks.
Yeah.
Trash cans and bike racks, ongoing yearly requests as well, bike racks, benches, the trash cans, they all need replacement, breaking, just wear and tear use items.
Yeah.
We also see a project very similar like this with the trees, that we have had some bench donor memorial allocation money
wondered
as
about that.
well. We've had a very successful, unsuccessful, I guess, for some people, season in our memorial bench replacement as well. Picnic tables, 10,000, trash recycling, 5. Just goes to, we replaced one trash can in one park. You never can find the same exact trash can. They change manufacturers every year. So we always just seem to be doing that continual replacement on items. Picnic tables break. We replace and repair as much as we can, but that is still a cost associated to the materials to replace just one board at a time.
Yeah. Anyone?
We purchase the tables, we don't build the tables.
No, we build.
Oh, you build them?
Yeah, all the picnic tables, we purchase materials and build in-house.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so we repaint during the winter on slow seasons and then replace as needed.
So you've been doing some of that at the garage at San Damiano, haven't you?
That's where we have been, yeah.
So $10,000 is for the lumber and the
lumber, hardware.
And do you know how many tables you get for that?
I don't have a breakout per table on how many that gets. Because it's not always a full table replacement. Some of it is just board for board.
Sorry, the light went out there.
Just board for board or,
Yeah.
So it's not always a full picnic table.
Have you ever used reclaimed boards from the trees you've cut down? You've done some of that, haven't
Some
you?
of the picnic tables have, but I don't think that our stock of reclaimed lumber is very large anymore, so it houses more of our small-scale projects and replacement boards that like below deck.
Yeah.
Do you have a rough guesstimate, like the cost of lumber per table?
I do not. Jake would have that information. I can get that, if that would be information we're looking for.
Why not? I think it would be nice. I feel it's odd to say yes to a $600,000 fire truck and then ask you for details on a $10,000 pile of picnic tables. I mean, I know it seems
Every dollar counts.
I mean, I know that you might sit here and you're thinking, Teresa, give me a break. You just gave, the fire chief a big, but at the same time, I don't know.
No, we have a lot of picnic tables.
Yeah.
We do.
And a lot of them are not in real great shape either.
Yeah.
I know about a lot, but several I've seen this year.
Or perhaps I just don't understand. Maybe there's just like a picnic table fund, and it really isn't per table that maybe that's not the way you look at it. I don't know.
We usually don't look at
Okay.
it per table,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I'm sure, I know how many boards per thing.
I don't want to create
Cost
extra
board
work
and-
for you. I just thought how many tables do you get for $10,000?
It would vary based off
Okay.
a lumber mill cost, obviously.
Okay.
So it
It's not
could,
just the picnic tables, it's a lot of it's just replace stuff in the season, there's all kinds of stuff that's damaged.
Yeah.
He has in your trash cans, all that stuff, so.
and any bench you add includes concrete because you can't put a bench in the middle of the park
Yeah.
because then that doesn't meet EDA standards and regulations. So you always have to pour a new pad for every bench, which has its own concrete cost
Yeah.
and fluctuation as well.
That all makes sense.
Hey, you just can't put benches in places anymore.
Right.
People don't like that. You can't get to them. They're not useful.
And then the final item under parks is the wood chips.
Which I don't think I
Playground resurfacing.
Yep, so playground resurfacing, which I know I had in here at one point. Basically, the wood chips biodegrade each year. We have to meet a specific fall threshold for playground safety inspections. So each year we have to replace our wood chips to meet those standards. This would be replacement for all playgrounds that have wood chips. So not all of our playgrounds do have wood. Some have rubber mulch, which is a higher cost per square foot on that, but we're looking at just the wood mulch replacement currently.
And you're just putting wood chips on top of
On
what's
top,
there, right?
correct.
You're not hauling all the old
And
stuff
are,
out.
these the chips from our trees that we're cutting down?
No, you have to use specific playground certified
There's
wood
safety
chips.
requirements. There are
Yeah.
safety.
No rough edges type of thing?
No splinters.
It's more-
Because it's a playground?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. I get it.
Like the absorption of
Sure.
fall rate is really like the softness, pliability
Yeah,
of the.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
This should probably be a
But-
higher priority in your ranking, since it childhood safety and there's this.
We do get it redone it is an ongoing or every
Yeah.
few years, so we do replace often to make sure we
Yeah.
meet those requirements. We do have some other projects that aren't as often or the ability, to do as often, so that's why the lower ranking, but it has been done recently in enough years that
But
we
you
have to
meet
replace.
certain federal standards.
Correct, which
And we don't usually skip it, so they don't
Yeah.
meet those
Yeah, I
standards.
know, that's why I thought it should be a higher rank.
It's probably been in there the last 5 or 6 years straight, so.
Yeah.
So we're being all,
Yeah, we meet all requirements currently. Our CIVMIC, our safety, Village Mutual Insurance, they,
English being operating thing, that's.
Yeah. Yeah,
Don't
that's
say
a
that
good
out
point.
loud.
No, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
She says that too often as it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So where do all the wood chips go from the trees that we're needing to remove?
Mulch, right?
a lot of them do go to mulch.
Just like on walking paths and stuff like that?
We mulch
or-
some of our own, some of them we put out for public consumption.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
we usually have stockpiles that
Oh.
public can use.
We have
So
some
we're-
at my house.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not stained like the ones you buy, but
Right,
they're,
right.
they're fine.
All right, questions on any of the other projects you've seen so far? I need to pull up my pool ones real quick.
Pool is page 131.
I don't have the full packet. Hold on.
You see, I was just wondering, back to that really great path that's going to loop around Fireman's Park. I'm just going to circle back up to make sure. Was that surface kind of like a permeable surface for like the rain and or what?
The path
The
itself.
path itself, or is it pretty much kind of like what we have?
should say in the
right now?
description,
It was like
probably.
an
Pull that back
abbreviation,
up.
like OE, or it was like a type of path. A lot of pages here. OPC path. I'm gonna look that up.
PC.
I think it's concrete was what originally he was proposing.
Yeah, I don't know what OPC stands for. Do you, Mark?
Oh,
Says OPC construction, replace existing path, OPC path, Greenway to Fireman's.
it's an engineer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Isn't the current path is asphalt, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The one going,
I'm sure it's going to be talked about when you review it.
I bet it's something concrete, a permeable concrete. Anyway, yeah, okay.
Doug has his hand raised.
Doug?
It's ordinary Portland cement.
Can you hear? Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Ordinary
Yes.
Portland cement.
Oh,
Oh,
the
It's ordinary Portland cement. I think I had the floor. Come on.
The O stands for ordinary.
Okay.
oh, okay. But you're wondering if there's some kind of permeable possibility?
That would cost about 3 times as much, probably.
Exactly. I
It's
know.
draining to the grass right next to it.
What was that?
True.
It's draining to the grass right next to it.
No, I
That
get
is
it.
true.
I get it. I just wasn't sure what OPC stood for.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I wasn't either.
are we ready for pool?
Yep.
Any other questions? Pool.
131.
Number 1, water side inspection and repairs. State mandates that we do our water side inspection every 5 years. We're technically on year 7. They gave us a variance pass for 2020 since we were not open. So we will need to do that inspection regardless. And then we also have repairs and painting the interior portion of the slide.
No questions? Okay, let's move on to locker room plumbing fixture updates.
If anybody has been to the pool, you've probably heard the gripes and complaints of the locker room plumbing issues, whether it be the showers don't seem to work right. We're also looking at some upgrades or replacements of just wear and tear toilet items that haven't been replaced recently. And then we would also be looking at the addition of a hand washing sink in the guard office that would tie into the plumbing that we currently have going to the water fountain. The staff does not have any current place to wash their hands inside the locker or inside the guard office, and they have to go to locker rooms to do that. When you're dealing with PPEs and bloodborne pathogens, it just does not mix very well from a health and safety standpoint for our staff. So we'd be looking at adding the hand washing sink in the guard office with that as well.
Questions, anyone? Okay.
Concrete repair. This concrete repair would actually be inside the pool, confined on pool deck. We have some 2 or 3 inch gaps where some of our decal filling has started to come out and redo. We have some uneven pool surfaces on pool deck that pose some slip, trips, and fall hazards. Basically, the caulking of the inseams are to help prevent some tripping accidents. That, though, would be an annual line item moving forward.
Guess you can move on.
The staff patron locker room storage on number 4. We'd be looking at making some improvements to the existing locker room where the guards are housed. And then we would also be looking at some locker rooms to help store pool patron valuable items. The lockers that we'd be purchasing that would be pool patron use would also be multi-use that we can move and utilize at the rink in the winter season.
Nice.
So they don't sit just non-use in the off-season. So we can transport them and move them both ways.
Is the, which makes me think they're a little more durable. I mean, they're going to take some wear and tear in transportation, but the utility is fantastic. And I'm guessing the price reflects that little more durability. Like it's a higher quality locker than you would have normally
They are not
needed.
your standard school lockers.
Right. They're just, yeah.
They would be a little more high durable. The functionality specifically for the lockers we'd be looking at in the guard office have different use than the lockers that we're looking for, like our general public use. So we have some different things there and some different options for the guard office specifically, whether it be cubbies, lockers, mixed space like that, along with some other seating. We have a large staff. We have over 50 seasonal employees. We do not always allow them to house all their stuff there permanently, but they mostly work every day, all summer long. So we do want them to be comfortable in the space that they're working and living in over the summer months. And it gets hot in there, so we're looking at some fans.
Yeah. Okay. I guess you can move on. The deck furniture is the next one.
Deck furniture is also an ongoing yearly replacement, wear and tear. New styles come into play. We, on average, lose probably about 25 chairs a season just due to whatever.
Yeah.
Mostly the back of the arms of the chairs
Yeah.
that don't allow it to sit upright anymore. And then we'd also be looking at upgrading some of the concession chairs possibly, if budget allows in there.
Okay, guess no questions. Move on to the community center, the remodel, and I think this was, Mark, you were talking about this a little bit earlier, weren't you?
What page are we on?
Page 125, and there's
Thank
not
you.
an explanation of this because this is something that was approved last year.
Okay.
But now we may be, depending on what happens with the Maywood proposal, we may not be doing all of this work
Yeah, it's basically what we talked about.
with Diane.
The main thing is the stairs. I assume the stairs is the number one thing. But I think Maywood's More likely, we're going to do Maywood. That's going to happen, so you'll hear about that within 2 months. You'll see a contract, so. And it's in their budget numbers, in the operating budget, so.
Anyone? I think that,
Mark,
Brian?
since you brought that up, I think you just mentioned at the end there, would that contract be out of operating?
Yes, it will.
yeah.
Yes, so it's a, I don't know all the details, but there's like give and take, but we'd be paying a rent amount. But with our fees, Jake would be able, the Park and Rec Department would be able to cover those without adding additional cost to the levy. So we've been working with Jake probably 6 months, 8 to a year, trying to make sure his numbers
At
make
least.
sense. So.
Yeah. And my agreement with Jake has always been, any of the after-school care, it has to be fully funded by the people who use it. We don't use tax dollars for that. So this would be also.
So basically would
that.
move their department, majority of their department to the Maywood, so.
Yeah.
So they'd be basically moving out of the.
And the
community
school
center.
district would be paying the utilities, right?
Yeah, the school district paying utilities, we would do the plowing. There's a lot to it, we'll have the contract very soon.
Yeah.
Probably within, I know their attorneys are both back and forth right now, but it should be fairly soon. And then it'll come to council for your guys' approval to delete it, so.
So get the preview in the budget meeting and
Right.
operating.
Right.
So am I understanding correctly, on page 125, we're only talking about the very first line, the community center remodel?
Correct.
That's all we're, everything else
rest of these
remains
are
in
ensuing
place?
years.
Okay, yeah, okay. And so that, the point is that will likely be removed, because we're
Well,
moving
part
to
of it.
Maywood.
Part of it,
yeah.
we'll have a more detailed,
When we
we won't borrow it. We'll know the number before we borrow, so we'll come back to
Yeah.
the council and say, well, we're taking this out or we're going to need something else. But
Mhm.
we will be to the council before, if it's approved, before we do anything with it. As
Right
far
now,
as-
we're thinking it will only involve replacing the stairs, probably, right?
I assume-
Depending on what happens with the Maywood.
I assume that there's maybe little things, there might be little other things just in case, but making it more accessible for the seniors if they all leave. So there's little things we have to take care of, but we should have that number by the time March comes around, or the time we borrow, even long before that. And then the park board will have opportunity to look at it.
And this project was approved last year.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Any other questions?
So being that it was approved last year, does that mean it just carries over?
Well, we approved it last year, but we put it back in there because we need more funds, because it was, so the reason, if we didn't have Maywood, just take Maywood out of it right now, we would have to, the quotes came in a lot higher than what we budgeted for, and we already spent $100,000 for the firemen's, the fire EMS bathroom. So that's why we came back to add additional money to borrow. So that's the reason why it's here. Even though part of it was approved, but we still need more money.
I thought we didn't get any quotes for that.
We did, from
We didn't
understanding.
get any bids back in.
No.
Or we had quotes, but yeah.
Yeah,
We
we had quotes, but
didn't
yeah,
actually
bids.
get any bids, which is
Yeah.
why we didn't do the project this year.
Got it.
But regardless of what happens, we'd like to get that staircase.
I think that seems like it's a thing everybody's
It's
been talking
scary.
about.
It is.
It's very, it's
And if you're unsteady on your
yeah,
feet,
it's very uncomfortable to walk up and down. It feels dangerous.
Side by side,
It is
oh, I don't
dangerous.
put that weight limit on.
Right. It just, yeah.
Way
But
more
yet
than-
people
Yeah.
are using it every day.
Right.
Mhm.
It
I
shakes
just,
and-
that's
Yeah.
kind of scary to think what might happen. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have one minor, but it's because it's going down this hypothetical path of Maywood. If parks moved over to Maywood, wouldn't that open up the upstairs for senior programming?
Yep.
And have less need to maybe
Fix this.
utilize the stairs as much?
That's going to be
It
the
would
stuff.
still be a mixed level building for them regardless if they have more
Yeah.
access.
Yeah.
There's still,
They used to use the upstairs all the time until we put the
Yeah.
childcare thing in there.
which they have been using the upstairs more frequently
Yeah,
now. Yeah, they run 4 classes a week up
And
there.
honestly, at some point, I think it becomes a code issue, actually.
Right.
So it's like, if we don't decide to do it, someone's going to tell us to do it pretty soon. It
Sure.
probably have to be our own guy.
Yeah.
Our own building inspector would tell us we probably need to make the improvement, so.
But you are correct. The plan is looking into, and this will be more detail, it's a senior center to take more over that building, to have more use of it, so.
But then also open it up for more community use again, like it used to be prior to childcare being in.
Yeah.
So it would
Right.
open up a lot more opportunities back down in that building that we're currently not tapping
Like
into.
scout troops and things like that.
Correct, scout troops, the high school booster club, pasta dinners, that use. We had a lot of people in there
Yeah.
prior to the childcare moving in.
Okay.
So repair of the staircase is included in this year's budget or not?
Yeah, last year when they did or 2023, this current year when they did the plans, they did everything. The staircase was one of the things they bid out as part of the whole remodel. So,
It involved like some changes, though, to the park office upstairs.
The kitchen area,
Which we will
there's-
be doing if we go to Maywood.
I think some offices, and remodel some offices. So the stairs was the biggest part of it.
Right.
Or at least one of the most expensive part of it.
But no matter what happens at Maywood, we're still going to fix the staircase
Yes.
in the community center.
Well, that's the goal.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
But it's just up in the air, and we're not going to make a final decision. We don't know, so.
I imagine you guys want to know that before how much detail you want to get into fixing it over there too. So if it's just a staircase, if it's something else, it's something.
The senior center programs will continue to be in the lower level and the upper
Yeah.
level. So they'll be using the stairs all the time. And other community groups will probably come back and start using them too, so. We need the stairs.
I mean, for as long as the building stands, I think we need to fix the stairs.
Yeah. And who knows what may happen with the building if we end up with
Well,
that Maywood building.
yeah.
So there's a lot up in the air.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else?
I think that's it for your portion, Missy. So thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll see you in operating season.
That's right. Maybe Jake will fill in.
I was out on maternity leave. He did somehow fare to make it work. He did make it work.
Hey, Jessica.
Exactly. Well, thank you all.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Missy. Is that your charging cord there?
Yep.
Okay. Mark, did you have anything else?
No, I was just follow up. I think the last thing was follow up, whatever. So if there's any questions, especially if you want to propose an amendment, you just need one person. It's not like putting it on a council thing. You just need one person to propose amendment. If you can get them, we'll have to figure out what day I think we're second meeting in October is the first read, correct?
No, the second meeting in October was when I'm not here. The first read
That's-
is the first meeting in October.
Then we're approving it on
We're
November.
talking about approving it in November, the first
So
meeting in
you-
November. So you have two different opportunities to submit amendments. You can do one for the October 2nd meeting.
Yeah.
When would you like it by then? Like next
Probably
Wednesday or
next-
something?
Yeah, Thursday probably is probably the latest. So.
Sending it to you or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, copy me both
Yeah.
and Neil.
Tell them what you want, and then they'll put it in the correct language, right?
And if you're working with the department head, just make sure to copy with them, and they can always help us put it together if needed. You can always propose the day of. You're allowed to do that. So.
Oh.
But you'll also
True.
have another opportunity when we approve it, which will be the first meeting.
October 16th?
Well, we aren't approving it then.
Oh.
We're going to wait till the first meeting in November to approve it.
Okay.
But you're going to submit them then too, so.
And it's helpful, just selfishly, it is helpful for staff to have them submitted ahead of time. You
Right.
can certainly do them at the meeting, but just in terms of
Yeah.
preparing the document, it is helpful to have it ahead of time.
Getting a good understanding of what it would mean, all that kind of thing, so.
Yeah, if you just let us know what the description is or how you want that written. Like, people sometimes write it for us, and we just copy and paste
Where it is.
So if something is proposed, do you also have to find some place to cut? Is that kind of a...
It's a little different for operating, you would. I mean, you can cut something for it, so it's up to you.
It's up to the council.
Yeah, whoever proposes the
You can
amendment.
propose it, yeah, that doesn't
Oh,
You can
okay.
propose it
necessarily
one-
mean it will pass, the council will
You can
vote on
propose it
it.
two ways. You can say, I want to increase this, but to cover, I'm going to decrease something else. Or you can just do it as an increase, or you can do it as a decrease.
Obviously, if you're going to propose spending like another $1 million, we'd like to see where you're going to cut it, because
Yeah.
We're trying to keep this at around 3 million.
Yeah, no. I don't think that would pass.
I mean, unless there was a municipal bake sale or something.
Right, a giant bake sale.
Big bake sale.
Yeah, so if you, any questions, let us know ahead of time. Any answers, any follow-up, that you heard.
And at the next meeting, like we said, it'll be the first read. So if you have more questions, then usually the department heads will be here, and you can ask them further follow-up questions about what we've talked about when they've been meeting with us.
I guess I do have a question. With the management plan for Woodland, is that a capital expense or is it operating?
It should probably be operating, shouldn't it, Mark?
Technically, in the end, well, it depends on, I could dig more into it, but could go either way.
It depends if it's if it's going to be a regular all the time thing, or if it's just once every several years. I mean,
But this is ongoing every year.
I'm not sure if it's going to be that much every year. I don't know. The problem is we don't have enough operating money available to cover some of this, so it's things that we could go either way. We're putting some of that in capital because we have to get it done and we don't have enough
And then the end was
money to do it.
I didn't know if you said something about auditors not allowing it, so.
Yeah, that one is important. It's justified to make a 5-year operating agreement for an IT service, software service.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of leeway.
Okay.
Mark used to be an auditor, so he has a pretty good idea of what is acceptable, right? I mean,
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Doug?
oh, just muted. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was just going to say that we have been funding the Woodland Park management at some level pretty much for the last 20 years. Even when the traders were doing volunteer work, the city was still funding it. So, but anyway, so that question has come up before, and it seems like we have a 20-year or so track record of saying it's okay to have it in the capital.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's an issue.
We did it with Frostwoods Park too, didn't we? For a while there, remember, for a few years?
Yeah,
had
we
planned
did
for
for
that.
1 year. The other ones we started doing operating. But it is a track record for that. It's always been with John. So.
Yeah.
But again, this kind of goes back to when we talked about the referendum. I don't know if you remember the thing. There was like non-personnel call. So a lot of the stuff is like some of the stuff that rather move on to the operating. But if you can't do it, you can't do it. It's moving on to the operating. It's part of the referendum question.
Anything else? Anything for Mark? Okay. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, our next council meeting is October 2nd, and we'll see this for first read. So is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, and I forgot to thank Alder DePula for the delicious sandwich.
You're welcome. No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderwood. Hope you're feeling okay.